Chulalongkorn University, I'm humbled to pay my deepest respect to Ajahn Nandho for contributing all of us Dhamma talk on the topic of Itipada 4, developing the 4 bases of success. Before attending to Dhamma talk, I would like to present all of you Ajahn Nandho's biography briefly. Ajahn Nandho Bhikkhu was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. He first encountered Buddhism at the age of 15 and felt an immediate connection to it. At the age of 19, he had the opportunity to do his first meditation retreat at Birkin Forest Monastery in Canada. This experience changed his life. He did several more retreats before traveling to Thailand at the age of 21 to stay at Wat Pa Nanachat. He took novice ordination at age of 21 and bhikkhu ordination at the age of 22. Since his ordination, he has stayed at many monasteries in Thailand and Australia. Ajahn Nandho has had the opportunity to stay with several highly respected meditation masters, including Ajahn Anand at Wat Map Chan, Luang Pho Piek at Wat Pa Chitta Phavana, and Luang Pho Bundet, Wat Tham Sang Tham. Ajahn Nandho currently lives at Wat Pa Anantakiri. Now, let me translate to Thai. ผมขอกราบขอบพระคุณอย่างยิ่งครับท่านพระอาจารย์พระมหาวีรศักดิ์อภินันทเวทีด็อกเตอร์รองผู้อำนวยการวิทยาลัยพุทธศาสตร์นานาชาติมหาวิทยาลัยมหาจุฬาลงกรณราชวิทยาลัยในนามของวิทยาลัยพุทธศาสตร์นานาชาติและหลักสูตรสาขาวิชาสันติศึกษาบัณฑิตวิทยาลัยมหาวิทยาลัยมหาจุฬาลงกรณราชวิทยาลัยกระผมขอนอบน้อมถวายความเคารพอย่างสูงยิ่งแด่ท่านพระอาจารย์นันโทที่เมตตามาให้คำสอนธรรมะในหัวข้ออิทธิบาท 4หลักการพื้นฐาน4ประการของความสำเร็จก่อนเข้าสู่การบรรยายธรรมกระผมขอกล่าวประวัติพระอาจารย์นันโทพอสังเกตดังนี้ครับท่านพระอาจารย์นันโทภิกขุเกิดที่เมืองวินนิเพกรัฐเมนิโทบาประเทศแคนาดาพระอาจารย์พบพระพุทธศาสนาครั้งแรกเมื่ออายุ15 ปีและรู้สึกมีความผูกพันกับพระพุทธศาสนาเมื่ออายุได้19 ปีพระอาจารย์มีโอกาสปฏิบัติสมาธิครั้งแรกที่วัดป่าเบอร์เดนในประเทศแคนาดาประสบการณ์ครั้งนี้ได้เปลี่ยนแปลงชีวิตของท่านพระอาจารย์นันโทปฏิบัติสมาธิหลายครั้งก่อนเดินทางมาประเทศไทยเมื่ออายุ21 ปีได้มาพักอยู่ที่วัดป่านานาชาติและได้บรรพชาบวชเป็นสามเณรเมื่ออายุ21 ปีและอุปสมบทเป็นพระภิกษุเมื่ออายุ22 ปีนับตั้งแต่ท่านอุปสมบทมาพระอาจารย์ได้พำนักอยู่หลายวัดทั้งในประเทศไทยและประเทศออสเตรเลียพระอาจารย์นันโทได้มีโอกาสพำนักอยู่กับพระอาจารย์ท่านผู้ทรงความรู้ด้านการปฏิบัติสมาธิซึ่งเป็นที่เคารพอย่างสูงหลายท่านรวมถึงพระอาจารย์อนันต์วัดมาบจันทร์หลวงพ่อเปียกวัดป่าจิตภาวนาและหลวงพ่อบุญเดชวัดถ้ำแสงธรรมปัจจุบันนี้พระอาจารย์นันโทพำนักอยู่ที่วัดป่าอนันทคิรี So now I am humbled to invite the most venerable Ajahn Nandho for addressing Dhamma talk on the topic of Itipada 4, developing the 4 bases for success. Please, Ajahn Nandho.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. I would like to ask permission from the senior monks to speak on Dhamma. So I'd like to offer my greetings to everyone here today. So nice to see that so many people have come out to participate in this meditation retreat. So today I've been invited to speak to everyone about practice, about meditation, and specifically about the 4 Itipadas. So all of us gathered here today. Okay. So all of us gathered here today are already quite familiar with Dhamma. We've all read suttas. We've all studied the Dhamma. We've all chanted the suttas. We've all memorized the suttas. We're all quite familiar with the theory of practice, of the different factors of the path of practice, of the theory of how to develop our samadhi and our practice. But knowing practice on the theoretical level is one thing, but we have to know how to put what we've learned into practice. And we have to learn how to do this in a way where we're going to meet with success in our practice. So how do we do this? How do we practice in a way where we will meet with success? Well, the Buddha taught us the Itipadas, sometimes translated as the basis of power, the road to success, the path to success. I prefer the translation, the path to success, because when we apply the 4 Itipadas, we will meet with success in our practice or with any task that we undertake. The Itipadas can be applied to any worldly task as well. They can be applied to work, to building, to study, to business. But for all of us here as Buddhists, when we speak about the Itipadas, we mean them in regards to our meditation, our samadhi, and our practice. So there are 4 Itipadas. There's 4 dhammas in this list. There's chanda, virya, chitta, and vimamsa. I was first taught about the Itipadas when I was a pakhao at Wat Pa Nanachat. A senior Australian monk taught them to us. And he said one good way to remember them and to be able to bring them up is to memorize them in a bit of a mantra or a bit of a chant. So we can just say to ourselves, chanda, virya, chitta, vimamsa, just to remind us of them. So chanda is desire, but in this context, it's a wholesome desire or a determination, a wanting to do something, or an enthusiasm. Virya is our energy or our effort. So this is the persistent effort to attain our goal or to attain the task we've undertaken. The third factor is chitta, or mind, the focused mind on attaining our task. And the fourth factor is vimamsa, and this is the wisdom part of these teachings. This is our ability to reflect on what we've done and learn from it. So chanda, desire, the wanting to do, a determination, an enthusiasm. So anytime we want to accomplish something, to do a task, we have to actually want to do it. And a lot of times in practice, we think we should just automatically have this sense of enthusiasm or this desire to practice. We think it should just always be there. When I was a novice living at Wat Pananachat, a very senior and respected Canadian monk, Lumpur Pasano, came to visit. And I went over to his kuti to speak with him. And I was telling him that I was having difficulty being inspired to practice and finding that inspiration to practice. And he told me that inspiration is a skill. And this hit me very deeply, and I found it very profound, because I had always thought that I should just automatically be inspired, living in a monastery, living with other monks, living in the forest. I thought I should just always feel inspired to practice. But that's not how it is. It's an actual skill we have to develop, because sometimes you feel you want to do something, sometimes you don't. So what we have to do is we have to learn how to cultivate our chanda, cultivate our desire, and find skillful means to bring up this desire to attain whatever goal we have. So for us as Buddhists, one of the ways we can use to develop this chanda is through our reflection. So we can try reflecting on the Buddha. We can reflect on the good qualities of the Buddha. We can reflect on the teachings he gave. We can reflect on his path of practice, of all the hardships he went through. We can try by bringing up a sense of gratitude towards the Buddha and just reflecting on all the hardships he went through for so many lives and in his last life, so that he could establish the Buddha Sasana out of compassion for all of us, so that all of us would have easy access to the Dhamma and the teachings to end suffering. We could also try reflecting on the Dhamma. We reflect on the teachings of the Buddha, and this can inspire us to practice more. Or we can try reflecting on the Sangha, the great disciples of the Buddha. We have their biographies, we have their teachings. We can read about them, their life, their practice, and this can give rise to more desire for us to practice. Or we can try reflecting on some of the teachers of the modern time, the great meditation masters of the modern time. We have their biographies, we have their teachings, we have books, we have recorded talks of them. So we can listen to these, we can read about their practice, and this can give us desire to practice in the way they did, to attain the same things they attained. We can also try reflecting on old age, sickness, and death, because right now, all of us are relatively young and healthy, so we're able to practice. But as we get older, our bodies start to deteriorate. We start to get aches and pains. Our faculties start to go. Our hearing goes. Our eyesight goes. We have less energy. So reflecting on old age, we can realize right now we have a good opportunity to practice, but eventually we won't, and things will get more difficult. So this can give rise to desire to practice now and to put forth effort into our practice. We can reflect on sickness. Right now, all of us are healthy and we can practice, but we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen down the road. We could get cancer. We could get diabetes. We could get COVID. We could get hit by a car. Anything can happen in the future. But right now, we have the time and we have the ability to practice. We can reflect on death. Eventually, all of us will die. We don't know when, we don't know how, we don't know where, but we know for sure that we will die. So everything that distracts us from our practice and distracts us from attaining our goals, when we die, these things won't be important anymore. And we don't know where we'll go after we die. We don't know if we'll have another opportunity like this to practice. So reflecting in this way can help bring up more enthusiasm and more desire to practice. We can also reflect on the practice itself. So for once someone has put enough effort into their practice, into developing their samadhi and meditation, that they've started to get experiences from their meditation. They start to experience piti, sukha, samadhi, or insight. This can help give rise to a sense of desire to practice. I spent several years living with Lumpur Biak at Wat Pa Chitta Bhavana, and one time he said to us, if someone can experience piti, just one time, just one experience of piti, they'll understand the importance of practice and the importance of meditation. So for us, if we can reflect back and think back to a time when we had an experience of piti or sukha or samadhi, and think back to that calm and that peacefulness and that deep happiness, this can help inspire us and give us desire to practice more. Generally, when people who have been meditating stop meditating for a while, and then they come back and start practicing again, usually they'll always say, why did I stop? I don't know why I stopped. It feels so nice now that I'm back practicing again. So we can use this as a skillful means to bring up more desire. And once we have a good amount of chanda, a good amount of desire to practice or to undertake a particular task, then it's much easier to do the next step, which is virya, or energy, or effort. So the virya is a persistent and sustained effort to attain our goals. No, because we can't attain our goals with just chanda, with just the desire for it. We have to make an effort. So for example, say I was really thirsty right now and I wanted to alleviate that thirst. I do it by drinking some water. But if I just want to alleviate the thirst, that's not enough. I have to make an effort, no matter how badly I don't want to be thirsty. If I don't make effort, if I don't reach for the glass and take a sip of water, it won't alleviate that thirst. So it's the same with our practice. We have to put forth effort. We have to do our virya. But so the first thing we have to know is what type of effort to put forth. What do we need to do to attain our goals? And all of us here are familiar with the factors of the path and have heard teachings on practice, on meditation. So we should all know what needs to be done. But we need to do this in a persistent and sustained way. If we just start and stop, we'll never achieve our goals. The example that's always given is the example of boiling water. So if we want to boil water, we have to hold a pot of water over a flame, and we have to hold it there continuously. If we hold it over the flame for a few minutes and it heats up, and then we take it off the flame and it cools down again, then we put it back on the flame and it heats up, and then we take it off and it cools down again, the water will never come to a boil. No matter how many times we do it, it'll never come to the boil. So too, with our practice, we have to keep going continuously and in a sustainable way. But this takes time to learn what is sustainable. So the Buddha gave the example of, with meditation, of tuning a lute and the lute string. So I guess nowadays that would be more like a guitar string and tuning a guitar. If the string is too tight, it won't make the right sound. If the string is too loose, it won't make the right sound. So what we have to do is we have to get it just right. And if you ever watch someone tuning a guitar, they'll tighten it and try it, and then loosen it, and then try it, and then tighten it and try it. So too, we have to do this with our practice. We have to test and see what is the right amount of effort to be putting in, what's not enough effort, and what is too much effort. Because sometimes if we put too much effort into the practice in the beginning, we can sometimes burn out, we can get overtired, we can find disappointment and disenchantment with the practice. So we have to find out the right amount of effort and then just keep doing it in a sustainable way. But when we're putting forth effort, we have to be aware of the next step, which is Chitta. So Chitta is translated as mind, but in the context of the Itipadas, this means the mind focused on the task at hand. So this is the unwavering, undistracted mind, which stays focused on what we're doing. So, for example, when I was a layman, I used to be a competitive swimmer. And one of the things they would teach us that when we were swimming, when we were doing a race, was to keep our head still and pointed forwards and not to move it side to side, left to right. Because if our head was moving around, then our body would follow our head and move around and we would slow down. And so it's the same with our practice. We have to keep our mind focused on what we're doing and completely into what we're doing. If our mind is moving around from this to that and our interest is moving from this to that, it's going to slow our progress and we may not achieve our goals. And the fourth and final factor is vimamsa. So this is the wisdom aspect of the 4 Itipadas. So this is our ability to reflect on what we've done and learn from what we've done and be able to adjust our practice. So an example would be several years ago, I was living at a small monastery in Australia. It was a fairly new monastery, and it was getting close to the cold season. And in that area, the cold season is very cold. It can drop below 0. And we didn't have enough kutis for the monks. So myself and another monk had to build a kuti. And in Australia, we built the kutis out of wood. And the monk I was working with was fairly skilled at building. He knew how to use tools. He knew how to build. He was quite skilled, whereas I am not skilled at all at building. So we were working one day, and we were having to put screws into the kuti, so connecting different boards with screws. And I was using a drill to put the screws in. And when I would start using the drill, the screws wouldn't go into the wood. The drill was working. There was nothing wrong with the wood. There was nothing wrong with the screws, but for some reason, they just wouldn't go in. So I asked the other monk what was going wrong. So he came over and checked, and it turned out I had the drill in reverse. So I had it set to pull screws out of kutis, not put them into the wood. So I corrected it, put the drill in forward, and the screws went in no problem. And then the next day, we're working some more on the kuti, and again, the screws won't go in. So right away, I know to check, okay, see if the drill is in forward or in reverse. And I check and I see, yeah, it's in reverse again. So I right away correct it. And then the next day, we're working on the kuti. And before I even start, I check to see if the drill is in forward and reverse. So this is an example of how we use our vimamsa. We have to reflect on what we've been doing. So when we're practicing, we have to see what works and what isn't working. And when something doesn't work or we have failure in what we're doing, we have to be able to reflect on that and see, why did it fail? Why didn't this work? And then we can make the corrections. And then we have to see what did work and then try to do that again. And so we're constantly getting smarter in the way we practice and improving it, so we stop making mistakes and we start meeting more and more success, because practice won't necessarily be the same every day. So when it comes to bringing up chanda, it's good to have many different tools, because one method that might work today might not work tomorrow. So we have to have a few to work with and to try and to know what works best for what situation. And then once we start developing all 4 Itipadas, we'll see that they all start working together and they all support each other. And whatever goal we'll be coming to, we'll achieve it easier, and the practice for the goal will get easier and easier, and we'll make less mistakes and meet more success. And in the end, hopefully we'll meet with ultimate success, which for us as Buddhists is the attainment of enlightenment, nibbana, to go beyond all suffering. So I hope everyone here, and I wish everyone here to meet with success in everything they undertake in life, and particularly in their practice, in developing their samadhi, panya, and wisdom, and may everyone here attain enlightenment. So I think that should be enough for the talk for now. I think there's a question and answer.
Thank you very much, the most venerable Ajahn Nandho. Before going to the question and answer, I would like to translate into Thai. In conclusion, only in conclusion, according to Ajahn said, Ajahn talk about the Itipada for developing the 4 bases of success. And we have 4 principles of, I'm sorry, to speak Thai, sorry ก็อย่างนี้นะครับคือพระอาจารย์ได้มาสอนเกี่ยวกับเรื่องหลักการของอิทธิบาท4นะครับในการพัฒนานะครับหลัก4ประการที่ทำให้ไปสู่ความสำเร็จนะครับหลัก4ประการนั้นก็มีฉันทะวิริยะจิตตะและวิมังสานะครับพระอาจารย์ได้เน้นเกี่ยวกับเรื่องการใช้ฉันทะวิริยะจิตตะวิมังสาในการปฏิบัติสมาธินะครับเหมือนอย่างที่ท่านพระเถรานุเถระแล้วก็ท่านผู้ปฏิบัติธรรมทุกท่านนะครับที่มาสู่หน้าที่แห่งนี้นะครับมีฉันทะวิริยะจิตตะวิมังสานะครับฉันทะนี่ก็หมายถึงว่าต้องมีความกระตือรือร้นในการปฏิบัติสมาธินะครับมีความต้องการนะครับมีแรงบันดาลใจนะครับคือสร้างทักษะให้เกิดขึ้นทักษะนั้นมันถ้าสร้างบ่อยๆมันก็เป็นทักษะธรรมชาตินะครับก็เกิดทำให้มีแรงปรารถนานะครับพัฒนาฉันทะนะครับโดยเราต้องยึดพระอาจารย์เน้นให้ยึดมั่นในคำสอนของพระพุทธเจ้านะครับแสดงความกตัญญูต่อพระองค์นะครับเราต้องทำงานให้หนักในด้านนี้นะครับในเรื่องการปฏิบัติสมาธิทั้งนี้เนี่ยเพื่อให้พ้นทุกข์นะครับด้วยการปฏิบัติในยุคปัจจุบันนี้ก็มีสื่อต่างๆมากมายหนังสือต่างๆนะครับให้เราได้ศึกษาด้วยนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นเราก็ต้องมีถือว่าเรามีโอกาสที่ดีแล้วเราก็ต้องมีความตั้งใจอย่างแรงกล้าที่จะปฏิบัติสมาธินะครับเพื่อให้สู่เป้าหมายของการปฏิบัติสมาธิเราไม่รู้ว่าในวันพรุ่งนี้เนี่ยนะครับจะเกิดอะไรขึ้นกับเราอาจจะเป็นโรคมะเร็งก็ได้หรือเป็นโควิดหรือประสบอุบัติเหตุนะครับเราก็มีเวลานะครับวันนี้เราก็ต้องปฏิบัติเพราะเราก็ไม่รู้ว่าเราจะเสียชีวิตเมื่อไหร่เราจะเสียชีวิตอย่างไรนะครับแล้วเราก็ไม่รู้ด้วยว่าเมื่อเราเสียชีวิตไปแล้วเนี่ยนะครับเราจะไปไหนเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยพระอาจารย์ท่านเน้นคำว่าสุขสมาธิสุขสมาธิก็คือสมาธิซึ่งเกิดจากภายในเป็นความสงบสุขนะครับความสงบสุขตรงนี้ต้องปฏิบัตินะครับปฏิบัติเรื่อยๆปฏิบัติเพิ่มขึ้นยิ่งขึ้นเรื่อยๆนะครับฉันทะก็คือความต้องการในการปฏิบัติธรรมปฏิบัติสมาธินะครับเมื่อมีฉันทะแล้วเนี่ยตัวที่สองจะตามมาทันทีก็คือวิริยะนะครับเมื่อมีความมุ่งมั่นนะครับมีความปรารถนาที่จะไปสู่นิพพานหรือทำกิจการงานอื่นให้สำเร็จในแง่ของฆราวาสเนี่ยต่อมาวิริยะก็จะตามมาคือเราต้องยังมีความพยายามโดยอัตโนมัติเลยเพื่อให้บรรลุถูกเป้าหมายนะครับ โดยการปฏิบัติสมาธิเนี่ยนะครับเราต้องใช้เวลาแล้วก็ต้องทำต่อไปด้วยความพยายามไม่ย่อท้อนะครับไม่ย่อท้อบางครั้งเราอาจจะรู้สึกว่าเราผิดหวังบ้างนะครับอันนั้นอาจจะเป็นว่าเราทำไม่ถูกวิธีนะครับอย่างที่ท่านพระอาจารย์ได้บอกก็คือก็ต้องเป็นหน้าที่ของพระอาจารย์วิปัสสนาจารย์นะครับที่จะช่วยดูแลนะครับให้เราบรรลุจุดเป้าหมายนั้นนะครับต่อไปก็คือตัวจิตตะนะครับจิตตะก็คือหมายความว่าเราต้องมีจิตใจที่แน่วแน่จดจ่อนะครับถ้าในแง่ของคฤหัสถ์ก็คือก็ต่องานทุกอย่างที่เราทำถ้าในแง่ของพระภิกษุนะครับผู้ปฏิบัติธรรมเนี่ยก็คือจิตตะต่อการมีสมาธิต่อการปฏิบัติมีสมาธิตลอดนะครับต่อการปฏิบัติข้อต่อมาก็คือวิมังสานะครับข้อสุดท้ายวิมังสาเนี่ยวิมังสาก็เป็นปัญญาที่เกิดขึ้นเป็นปัญญาที่สะท้อนออกมาให้เราเห็นว่าเราทำอะไรลงไปเนี่ยมันถูกต้องแล้วหรือเปล่านะครับมันมีอะไรที่จะต้องแก้ไขไหมมีอะไรจะต้องทบทวนไหมมีอะไรที่จะต้องทำให้สมบูรณ์ยิ่งขึ้นต่อไปหรือไม่เพื่อเราไปบรรลุเป้าหมายนะครับก็คือพระนิพพานนะครับผมอะไรที่เราทำไปแล้วเนี่ยนะครับเราล้มเหลวเนี่ยเราก็ต้องพิจารณาใหม่นะครับแล้วเราก็ทำด้วยความคิดไข้ควรด้วยความฉลาดนะครับให้ประสบความสำเร็จมากยิ่งขึ้นพระอาจารย์ท่านเน้นเกี่ยวกับเรื่องการปฏิบัติสมาธิเนี่ยนะครับท่านบอกว่าต้องทำทุกวันนะครับท่านก็ยกตัวอย่างต่างๆมามากมายนะครับว่าบางทีอยู่ในประเทศของท่านเนี่ยนะครับวันแรกอาจจะทำไม่ประสบความสำเร็จต้องทำทุกวันนะครับทำวันนี้ไม่ใช่ทำพรุ่งนี้นะครับเพื่อบรรลุเป้าหมายอันสูงสุดนะครับของผู้ปฏิบัติธรรมทุกคนก็คือเป้าหมายสูงสุดในชีวิตนะครับก็คือพระนิพพานนะครับผมเพราะฉะนั้นก็มีความจำเป็นอย่างยิ่งนะครับที่จะมาศึกษาและปฏิบัติธรรมเกี่ยวกับการปฏิบัติสมาธิโดยอาศัยหลักอิทธิบาท4ที่ท่านพระอาจารย์ได้บอกพวกเรานะครับก็คือฉันทะวิริยะจิตตะวิมังสาในการนำไปใช้ปฏิบัติสมาธิครับผมขอบพระคุณพระอาจารย์ Thank you very much. If anyone has some question, please direct to พระอาจารย์ please.
Thank you. Good, Ajahn. Thank you. That was a very worthwhile talk. And even as a Western beginner, I really loved the framework for Itipada. It really makes sense because I feel I have more action-oriented mind. So yeah, this was really perfect. Thank you. In terms of my question, you briefly mentioned about, once we have a little taste of piti, sukha, then we really see the value. And I resonate to that. And also the part that you are saying, we go on and off, and the example of boiling water. Now, one question I wanted to ask you, for me, is meditation practice the only way to experience those states of, piti, sukha, samadhi, etc.? Because for me, I find, although I love meditating, but when I listen to Dhamma talks, discourses, in my very limited experience, I find that something kind of deep and profound happens a few times, including even yesterday's talk. So I wonder, if the path of awakening, so to speak, at least the earlier part, piti, sukha, etc., could happen also from listening to Dhamma talk, etc. as well.
So, yes, you can get the experience of piti from different things. So you can get the experience of piti from Dhamma, like Dhamma called Dhamma piti, and so yeah, you can get those experiences, but to develop the deep insights that can lead to enlightenment, those you need to develop your meditation, develop your samadhi, and develop your wisdom. But yes, to your question, it is you can get experiences of piti from stuff like listening to Dhamma talk, or sometimes when you're very inspired, you can feel piti, or from chanting. So yeah, there are different ways to start getting those experiences, but usually the dependable way to do it is to get it through your meditation. And then when you're developing your meditation, these experiences will become much deeper. So you'll get piti, and then into sukha, and then into the actual experiences of samadhi.
ครับผมขออนุญาตสรุปนะครับก็ที่ถามนะครับถ้าผมจับใจความก็คือว่าให้ท่านขยายความเกี่ยวกับเรื่องสุขสมาธิอะไรอย่างนี้นะครับทีนี้ท่านตอบว่าอันนี้จะต้องเป็นประสบการณ์นะครับท่านใช้คำว่า experience ประสบการณ์เนี่ยจะต้องได้มาจากข้างในนะครับต้องได้มาจากการ enlightenment จากสมาธิก็ถึงจะได้ปัญญาเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยต้องมีแรงบันดาลใจนะครับทำสมาธิเนี่ยต้องทำให้ลึกนะครับอันนี้ผมเองก็ไม่ได้มีความเชี่ยวชาญทางด้านสมาธิอย่างลึกซึ้งแต่ว่าเป็นผู้ที่ศึกษาและผู้ที่สนใจปฏิบัตินะครับทีนี้จากที่ท่านพูดเนี่ยท่านพูดคำว่า experience ประสบการณ์ประสบการณ์คือหมายความว่าต้องทำบ่อยๆมันถึงจะเกิดประสบการณ์ขึ้นมานะครับตัวนี้สำคัญมากนะครับมันถึงจะเกิดสมาธิและเกิดปัญญามันถึงจะเกิดสุขสมาธิได้ครับ
Thank you very much for your Dhamma talk. It's really inspiring. And I have a few questions. That first, I always inspired by seeing Western monks, especially be ordained at a young age. And as the doctor introduced, your philosophy that you have experience when you went to the meditation retreat in Canada, and it's kind of something that inspired you to come practice and be ordained eternally at the final. And if possible, could you please share what happened at that time? And also, there's one question. Another one is that you have mentioned that your Ajahn suggests that aspiration is skill. It's a skill. Could you please share how you develop that skill on your own? Possible?
Okay. So for the first question was when I first went and did a meditation retreat. So leading up to that, I was at that period I was just I wasn't in school. I was 19. I was living in an apartment with a friend, just a roommate, and I was working and living a very busy worldly life. And then I got this opportunity to go to do a meditation retreat. And so I went, and it was several provinces from where I lived. So I think it was about 2,000 kilometers away from where I lived, because where I grew up was kind of in the middle of nowhere. And we didn't have much in the way of Buddhism. There was no monastery. There was no teaching. So if I wanted to if I wanted to do a retreat, I had to go somewhere else. And so I went to this monastery, and the Birkin Forest Monastery. It's deep in the forest. It's up in the mountains in British Columbia in Canada. It's a very beautiful area. It's a very very peaceful experience. And when I was traveling there on the way, at one point I had to take a bus, and they lost all my luggage. So I showed up there with just the only thing I had was the clothes I was wearing. I had no toothbrush. I had no change of clothes, nothing. And when I arrived, the monks were very kind to me. They helped me out. They got me everything I needed, and I did this meditation retreat. And it was really just seeing this quiet, peaceful place and these kind, peaceful people, and seeing that there was a completely different way to life. Like there was, it's kind of like when the Buddha went forth from life, the lay life, when he saw the Devadutas and he saw the Samana and just something he didn't know before. So it was kind of similar, seeing that completely different lifestyle, and that there was this much better lifestyle. And then I continued. And then when I returned back home, I didn't have interest anymore in my job. I didn't have interest in those things. And so I kept several times. I went back and forth between my home and this monastery. And then when I was 20, and when I was 21, I decided I was going to come to Thailand, but not to be a tourist. I came just specifically to go stay at Wat Pa Nanachat. But I wasn't intending to ordain. I had only planned on staying for 2 months. And so I had my return plane ticket and was, just planning to stay 2 months. But then after being at Wat Nanachat and, living in the forest and seeing all these monks living together and practicing together, I became very inspired and decided to stay and ordain. So I threw away my plane ticket home and had to call my parents and tell them I wasn't coming home. And so yeah. 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 And sorry, what was the second question? Sorry.
How you develop your inspiration as a student?
Yeah, so a lot of it is through practicing and through experiencing practice, building up, working on meditation, samadhi, also through just even just reading the teachings of the Buddha, reading about Kruba Ajahns, and seeing having this goal in mind and working towards it. It's just over the years you find many different skills. So sometimes you might be not having much inspiration, so you have to kind of find something which will work in that situation. So it's like, sometimes it's like reading a biography of a respected monk might give you inspiration to practice, but because it might be, I want to be like that. I want to experience those things. But then another time that might not work, and so you have to find something else to inspire you. So it's kind of, it's this continuous process of finding what works and using what works. But generally, for me, I find when I'm putting forth effort into practice, it makes me want to put more effort into practice. But there are some days it's, where you just, even if you're not feeling very inspired, you just have to push, And so it's like, it can be all kinds of different things. It's like when I was learning Patimokkha, the monastery, I was living at a small monastery. So what was keeping me inspired, what was like kind of my chanda, my desire to do it, was that every day the abbot, he knew I was learning Patimokkha. So every day the abbot would ask me in front of the Sangha, how many rules did you learn yesterday? How much did you learn yesterday? How much more do you have? And so I really didn't want to be seen as a lazy monk. So that kept me inspired and kept me going. So even when, if I was at my kuti and I was feeling lazy and didn't want to do it, then I'd just think, how embarrassed will I be if I have to say I didn't do anything yesterday? So you have to find different means to different skills to keep you inspired.
Great. That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
And do you believe in the enlightenment? And how do you feel that Nirvana is real or exists?
Sorry.
Do you believe? How do you believe in the enlightenment or Nibbana?
Yeah.
I think most of Westerners not gonna agree with that. But how do you believe in that?
Yeah, I definitely believe it's possible. It's the Buddha talked about it extensively in the suttas, and then I've met senior monks that I believe are enlightened. I don't know have any way to know for myself yet, but yeah, I do have a lot of faith. I found generally with the Western monks that I've met, and from what Panana Chat, I think all of them believe in enlightenment. Yeah. So yeah, and I was quite lucky because my family were into Buddhism as well. So from the time I was about 15, my family was very Buddhist. Yeah. So I have.
Thank you so much.
Ajahn, thank you so much for your Dhamma talk. During we are practicing meditation here, we try to do meditation 30 minutes. After that, we increase to do 1 hour, sitting 1 hour and standing 1 hour, and to see the impermanent suffering or non-self in our body. And I'm interested about you talk about the middle way, and because I think when we practice more and more, some people, as I heard my friend or my master, they can do 3 hours or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we do very long hour and it can affect to our health or not. And what my question that I want to know is, what is the middle way from your points of view to practice meditation?
Well, so a lot of that really depends on the person themselves and where they're at in their practice. So sometimes, in the beginning, if we our mindfulness isn't very strong yet, and we don't have much experience meditation, sometimes pushing too hard and sitting too long. So sometimes you'll have someone who can't meditate yet, and they try to sit 8 hours or 10 hours, and they end up spending the whole time just thinking, or just stressing out. So sometimes it's good to change postures, or sometimes if you have, maybe you've injured yourself, you've hurt yourself, like maybe some people have bad knees, and so then you can't sit as long as someone else. But one of the things is, you'll see over time, the more you practice, the longer you can sit and the longer you can walk. And so you just have to see for yourself and what your circumstances in. A lot of times, generally pushing a little harder than we'd feel comfortable is usually for the middle way. So sometimes if, say, we only want to sit for half an hour, and then maybe trying to sit 35 minutes or 40 minutes, and so trying to build up. But so it's important then, once we've had a meditation retreat like this, where there's a lot of meditation, sitting and walking, practicing it as a group, is that once the retreat is over, to continue practicing, even if it's not as much as we would here. Like, so this section period, we're doing more, but when we finish, we still continue practicing, even if we don't have time to do as much, but we still keep doing some, so that it's not It's not just completely stop and throw it away. Yeah. But yeah, finding the middle way, it's something we have to kind of get a feel for over time and see what works, and then and adjust it, because sometimes we may go through a period where we can do more meditation, or somewhere we can't do as much. So we have to see what works for us for those particular situations.
Okay, thank you so much.
ผมขออนุญาตครับผมขออนุญาตดูคำถามนะครับเมื่อกี้เมื่อสักครู่นะครับมีคำถามเกี่ยวกับเรื่องให้แชร์ให้มีประสบการณ์ในการปฏิบัติสมาธินะครับก็ท่านพระอาจารย์ก็นะครับตอบเหมือนที่ในประวัติท่านว่าท่านได้ไปที่ไหนมานะครับในการประสบการณ์ท่านแล้วก็ครั้งหนึ่งท่านได้ไปเห็นคือท่านมีความท่านเห็นท่านมีความรู้สึกกับพุทธศาสนาเนี่ยเหมือนมีความผูกพันนะครับอันนี้ที่จริงผมเองก็ไม่มีความรู้ลึกซึ้งนะครับว่าสิ่งที่เห็นครั้งแรกแล้วมีความผูกพันเนี่ยนะครับอันนี้ผมคิดว่าเป็นฉันทะอย่างแรงกล้าซึ่งไม่ทราบว่าเกิดขึ้นได้ยังไงนะครับอันนี้คือสิ่งที่ท่านเห็นเนี่ยท่านได้ไปเห็นเรื่องคนที่มีความสงบเย็นนะครับท่านก็เกิดความรู้สึกอะไรขึ้นมาบางอย่างนะครับที่ทำให้ท่านก็เล่าประวัติเมื่อท่านมีอายุ21ปีท่านมาประเทศไทยทีนี้การปฏิบัติสมาธิที่ท่านพูดเนี่ยคือการปฏิบัติต้องปฏิบัติเหมือนปฏิบัติด้วยกันอย่างเงี้ยนะครับผมมันก็จะได้มีการตรวจสอบการอะไรลักษณะนะครับอันไหนปฏิบัติที่ถูกหรือไม่ถูกนะครับทีนี้ก็มีคำถามที่บอกว่าวิธีการพัฒนาทักษะและสร้างแรงบันดาลใจเนี่ยนะครับก็ท่านก็ตอบว่าก็ต้องฟังคำสอนของครูบาอาจารย์นะครับแล้วก็แรงบันดาลใจก็ต้องสร้างขึ้นมาของเราเนี่ยมันเหมือนกับว่าเหมือนเรามีความรู้สึกยังไงกับพุทธศาสนานะครับอย่างเงี้ยมันก็เป็นแรงบันดาลใจแล้วก็ทำบ่อยๆทำจนเกิดประสบการณ์แล้วก็อยู่กันในหมู่สังฆะนะครับอย่างเงี้ยนะครับอันนี้ถามว่าการปฏิบัติสมาธิเนี่ยนั่งปฏิบัติสมาธินานๆเนี่ยมันทำให้เป็นทุกข์นะครับทำให้เป็นทุกข์เราก็พูดกันเสมอถึงเรื่องการเดินสายกลางนะครับแล้วอะไรคือการเดินสายกลางในการปฏิบัติสมาธินะครับท่านพระอาจารย์ก็ได้เมตตาตอบว่าก็ขึ้นอยู่กับที่ตัวของเราเองนะครับถ้าเรามีสติคือฝึกบ่อยๆเนี่ยมีความแข็งแรงเนี่ยมีประสบการณ์สูงครับก็จะนั่งได้นานนะครับเราสังเกตพระวิปัสสนาจารย์ที่เป็นอาจารย์นะครับของพวกเรานะครับที่ท่านสังเกตเนี่ยทำไมท่านนั่งได้นานผมเองก็นั่งได้ไม่นานนะครับผมเองเนี่ย45 นาทีถึง1 ชั่วโมงผมก็ต้องเปลี่ยนเพราะนั้นท่านพระอาจารย์นันโธก็แนะนำว่าบางครั้งเราก็เปลี่ยนอิริยาบถได้นะครับเปลี่ยนอิริยาบถจากนั่งเนี่ยก็ไปเป็นเดินนะครับเหมือนที่ท่านพระเถรานุเถระแล้วก็ท่านผู้ปฏิบัติธรรมทุกท่านเนี่ยนะครับได้ทำอยู่ก็คือ30 นาทีบ้างชั่วโมงบ้างอย่างนี้นะครับผมอันนี้ก็เป็นสิ่งที่ท่านแนะนำก็คือแล้วก็ต้องปฏิบัติอย่างต่อเนื่องนะครับท่านเน้นถึงความต่อเนื่องครับผม
Good morning, Ajahn. So my question is that how can we improve our physical health through the meditation? So I would like to know your idea about it.
I think one way we can do it is just that we are becoming calmer, and so we're getting more relaxed, we're getting more calm. So a lot of the health problems that can arise because of anxiety, because of stress, we can really reduce those as a monk. And another one is a lot of aches and pains people get in their bodies. When we start meditating, the body really relaxes. So sometimes these aches and pains can get better and go away. But one of the really important things is not just that, not so much of healing illnesses in the body, but what we do is we learn how to deal with these illnesses better. So when sickness does arise, it mentally doesn't bother us, that we understand that, this is the nature of the body. It gets sick, so we don't stress out over it. We don't create more suffering around it than is necessary. And then if we have started practicing on working with dukkha vedana, working with painful feelings, when sickness or injury arise, we're able to handle these painful feelings much better than if we hadn't practiced.
Okay, thank you, Ajahn. Got it.
ครับผมเนื่องจากว่าระยะเวลานะครับผมระยะเวลาจำกัดก็ขอจบคำถามนะครับผมของทุกท่านนะครับก็คือที่ถามว่าการปรับปรุงการทำสมาธินี่นะครับท่านอาจารย์ก็พูดตรงว่าร่างกายของเรานี่ถ้ามันมีความเครียดความเจ็บปวดนะครับเราก็ต้องดูแลของเราตรงตัวนี้ด้วยนะครับผมนะครับทำให้เหมาะสมกับร่างกายลักษณะของเรานะครับผมครับก็จบคำถามครับผม
May I invite Venerable Junaidi for offering gift for Ajahn Nandho. And Nai Chokchai Mongkon Sin, representative of our IBSC student and Peace Study student. Now we pay respect to Ajahn Nandho in order to send him back to Monastery and paying gratitude to him. Clap. Clap. Clap.